Amistad and HarperAudio present My Father's House, an ode to America's longest-serving black congressman by John Conyers III. Read by John Conyers III. Foreword written and read by Michael Eric Dyson. This is John Conyers III. To the original John Conyers, his son, my father, Congressman John Conyers Jr., and Mom Con. It's been the honor of my life to tell our family story. To the unsung heroes of my journey, Mrs. Tower, Mrs. Woodfin, Mrs. Mitchell, Mr. Moore, Coach Rowley, and Miss Shea. To my agent, Will Lippincott, thank you for taking a chance on me and sticking with this project despite setbacks and uncertainty. Thank you for believing in my family's story. My part has been to tell the story of the slave, the story of the master never wanted for narrators. Frederick Douglass. If you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. Zora Neale Hurston.
Foreword. Ain't No City Like the One I Got by Michael Eric Dyson. When I came up in Detroit in the 60s and 70s, giants stalked the earth. Kenneth Cockrell Sr. was an unashamedly Marxist lawyer who used mellifluous multisyllabic rhetoric to storm the cultural and political dominions of white supremacy. Cockrell co-founded the League of Revolutionary Black Workers to help working-class black folks fight an automobile industry that exploited their labor. Even before he became a one-term councilman, he was also instrumental in galvanizing a movement to bring an end to the police department's brutal undercover unit STRESS, an acronym for Stop the Robberies, Enjoy Safe Streets, which terrorized black communities. Coleman Young, the man who pulled the plug on STRESS, was the colorful and delightfully profane first black mayor of Detroit, taking office in 1974, a mere 7 years after the urban rebellion of 1967. There were preaching colossuses, too. Charles Adams, dubbed the Harvard Hooper because of his academic pedigree and homiletical style, fused spiritual ardor and political passion to assail racial disorders and other social sins at Hartford Memorial Baptist Church. C.L. Franklin, Aretha's daddy, and a pioneering evangelist who came to maturity in Mississippi and recorded more than 70 albums of sermons, broadcast his chanted homilies across the Detroit airwaves each Sunday night from his legendary pulpit in the New Bethel Baptist Church. And there was my pastor, too, Frederick George Sampson, a towering Shakespearean figure who quoted W.E.B. Du Bois and Bertrand Russell alike, and from whose lips dripped the poetry of Langston Hughes and Thomas Gray. As pastor of the Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church on the city's west side, Sampson was spiritual caretaker for people like me, a poor black boy from the inner city. But Sampson was the shepherd of prominent citizens like Elliott Hall, a renowned lawyer who became a vice president at Ford Motor Company. Sampson also watched over the spiritual pilgrimage of Damon J. Keith, who was appointed to the federal district bench in 1967 by President Lyndon Baines Johnson, and who was elevated to the federal appeals court in 1977 by President Jimmy Carter. Keith presided over the 1976 tax evasion trial of famed mobster Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone. In the early 70s, he also ruled against the Nixon administration's effort to carry out warrantless wiretapping, and when they sued him personally, the Supreme Court vindicated him in what became known as the Keith case. Hall and Keith became my heroes and mentors, and eventually my friends. So did the remarkable John Conyers Jr., who was also a member of Tabernacle and an iconic politician who became the longest-serving black member of Congress in the nation's history. I would spot Conyers at church and grew enamored of his political gravitas, his serene disposition, his keen intelligence, his love for jazz, his calm yet eloquent declamation, and his moral decency. Conyers' handsome face was accented by a striking mustache that covered his upper lip in a slimmer version of Friedrich Nietzsche's dense whiskers. Conyers was a long-distance runner for justice, a venerable
Sample complete. Ready to continue?